We're good.
That is a big step. And the last time I did a big step like that onto a stage was actually in school when my shoe came off and there was a hole in my sock and the whole year see me, so that's great. But hello, welcome. I'm Olivia. Today I'm going to be talking about building, monitoring and managing brand perception online. So if you don't know who I am, I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably won't. I am Olivia Halon, and the big title, CEO and founder, it's not as big as it looks, and it's also not as glamorous as it looks either. In less than 4 years, I built one of the biggest communities for marketers, specifically Girls in Marketing. That is a brand that I run. We are based in Liverpool, so if you can't tell by my accent already, I am born and bred in Liverpool, so I love doing talks when I'm up north. Normally I slow down the way I speak, but today I might just speed it up for all of you. How did I actually do this? Well, there's a lot of things to talk about, and I know I've only got 20 minutes, and I know I said to speak fast, but there's 62 slides, so I'm just going to get straight into it. I did it through building and maintaining a strong brand, both online and offline. But it's not just about building, because I know a lot of people talk about how do we build a brand, whether it's a personal brand or a normal brand, whatever, not a personal brand, company brand. But it's about maintaining it as well, because it's all well and good, building something, but it's actually how do you maintain it over time? How do you grow it, and how does it evolve as well? So you do this through brand perception. Now, brand perception is a sum of how consumers feel, their experiences, their thoughts about a product or a service. It's what people believe the brand to be and what it kind of represents. It's not always what you think it is. So what I like to kind of say here is remember that brand perception is a mental association. I'm somewhat of a psychology nerd, as well as I love marketing. I very much see the idea that psychology plays a huge impact on brand. As I said, if you run a brand or if you work for a brand, you may often think that consumers or potential consumers or customers think a certain thing about your brand, but actually they don't, and that's where brand perception comes in. So I always love to put a little Venn diagram up, and this essentially talks about what brand perception is. It's a mixture of brand experience and brand promise. So as yourself working for a company or working for an agency or working with a client, you'll have a brand promise. You'll have something that, okay, this is the thing that we want to deliver. This is the thing that we are delivering or we think we're delivering. And then you have the brand experience. So what do consumers actually experience? What do they, when they walk into a room with a client, how do they feel? Are they getting that promise? Brand perception is kind of in between those. So I like to kind of think about it in terms of like an advertising way. So if you think about a Big Mac, for example, you've got the brand promise, which is the one on the left here. And then sometimes the reality, because, we all know advertising, it's not always what it seems it is. So McDonald's, as a kind of brand and as a corporation, I have no association with McDonald's. I did work there for 4 years, though, when I was younger. The kind of promise that they have is, this amazing, really tasty burgers and foods and, all that sort of thing. I'm not on commission either, by the way. But then the promise isn't, the reality isn't always what the promise is. And then what kind of happens is you get somewhere in the middle where you think, oh, well, I don't really know if I want to go, because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So you've got 4 components of brand perception. You've got the branding. So this is probably, if you guys are kind of working in marketing and PR and all that sort of thing, you'll probably play a big part in the branding. So how does your brand look to other people? What is the typical kind of things, the logo, the colours, the brand mission, the statement, the vision statement, all that sort of thing. They're kind of the crux of it. Then you've got the price. So when it comes to branding, you also then have to think about the price. How much are they cheaper than your competitors? Are they more expensive than competitors? Do you kind of position yourself in a more luxury market? Do you position yourself in a cheaper market? What is the price of your product, and how does that kind of sit within the market in itself? And then you've got the service. So the service that is actually provided. So this is in so many aspects, a mixture of a lot of things. It's not just the service, okay, the food, for example, if we take the McDonald's example, it's not just the food that arrives and how it tastes, but it's also the way you walk into a store, how you are greeted by, the person on the till, how you experience the person, shouting out the number, everything like that. Excuse my McDonald's references. I've also got more on McDonald's in a minute. And then also the quality as well. So naturally, the quality of the product or the service that they get. So it's everything all together. These are the 4 main components of brand perception. So I know I said I was going to talk more about McDonald's. This is going to happen now. So an example of good brand perception, you go to McDonald's. Previous experiences and branding kind of gives you an idea on the quality, the price, the service that you get. So to you, McDonald's, whether you agree or not, in this scenario you do, McDonald's offers cheap, tasty food and fast service. So you go into McDonald's, you expect that, okay? Then, when you actually go to McDonald's, it is cheap, £2.09, however much it is. I think it's more than that now. You go in, you buy your food, cheap, reinforced. You then get your food really quickly, only 2 minutes, really fast. Then you sit down, the fries are hot, the burger's hot, you're absolutely buzzing, whether you're hungover, I don't know. And your brand perception is then maintained. So you are living up, as a brand, you're living up to that brand perception. An example of poor brand perception would be, again, you go to McDonald's, previous branding experiences and of the service, same thing. To you, McDonald's offers cheap, tasty food for a good price. But when you go to McDonald's, you order a cheeseburger and fries, and it's like £3.09, and you're thinking, when did the prices go up? It's not as cheap as I used to think it was. You wait 20 minutes for your food, and it's just not good. When it comes, it's actually really cold. Those 2 things that you thought, the fast, it's now slow, and the when you sit down and it's cold, not hot anymore. What happens is, the more experiences you have of a brand, the more your perception grows. And as a brand itself, the better brand perception you have, the greater brand equity that you have as well. So when you understand brand perception, you can use this information to essentially increase and improve your brand equity. So brand equity is a combination of people's perceptions, experiences, and opinions of your reputation. Because as much as it's great for you to have a good experience, if one of your family members doesn't, or maybe a friend doesn't, that all creates this kind of brand equity. But if everybody has a good experience, it grows your brand perception, and it means that you're in a really good position as a brand. So a company that has high brand equity attracts loyal customers or clients that keep coming back all of the time. So when you think about your product or service, sometimes you'll obviously have that choice between a competitor or yourself, but essentially if you are able to have high brand equity, you'll always get those people returning, you'll always get those customers or clients returning to you. So the real question is here, why does brand perception matter to marketers? And it matters a lot. And I think that when we think about brand perception, it may be, that sits with a different team, not really related to what I'm doing, but it really is. The first reason is because if consumers are more likely to choose you rather than your competitors, great, more acquisition, more leads, more sales, everything we love to see as a marketer. But then also, it's more likely to bring in new customers because around 60% of people refer friends, refer family to different brands and to different businesses. So if you're able to have a good brand perception, you're able to uphold the promise that you give to people, or you're able to give people a good experience when they come into a store or when they experience your brand, then it will mean that these people will refer you going forward. So now we've kind of talked about that aspect of building a brand, getting to the point where you are able to maintain that brand. How do you then measure that brand perception? Because I think before, you may remember me saying, you may think that you know what your customers think, but actually you don't. The best way to do it is ask them. So you can conduct brand perception surveys, you can ask them a variety of different questions. Tracking online mentions is an amazing way to see what people are saying about your brand, especially if you're on a budget as well. Twitter is an absolute, it's just a total mind-blowing moment for me. But people are so honest on Twitter. So if you ever want to know anything about your brand, Twitter is the place for you. And also conducting a branding audit. So, look at your competitors, look at what you're doing. Where do we sit? As I said before, think about those 4 components. Where do you sit within that? So with brand perception surveys, there's kind of 4 key areas you need to think about really. And this goes back to kind of what we've covered already today. You've got cognitive, so what kind of concepts that the consumer associates with your brand. Then you've got emotional, how do they feel about your brand? What do they feel when they experience your brand? Then you've got the language, so how does consumers actually describe your brand? Because again, that might be something that I've never even heard of before. The way you talk about your brand isn't necessarily how other people talk about your brand. And then the action, so the experiences that the consumer has with your brand. So this kind of goes back to that brand perception, brand promise, and brand experience piece that I talked about before. So then we've got the 3 main outcomes of brand perception surveys. You as a brand will understand the impact that your marketing campaigns have on consumers. You'll also be able to resolve that gap that I was talking about before of how you see yourself as a brand and the reality and how consumers experience your brand. And then you'll be able to identify any areas of improvement. So, what can we improve on? If you think about the whole kind of spectrum, the whole customer life cycle, how can we improve this aspect? How can we improve that aspect? Being able to do that is a massive benefit to any company. So here's a few ideas of questions for a brand perception survey. You kind of want to ask people what are their feelings, what are their experiences, how would they describe your brand to a friend, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this brand, all of those sorts of things. What I absolutely love to do, and I don't know if I'd recommend this because it's very humbling, is asking parents what you do and what your brand does. Because whenever I ask my mum, she goes, a community for marketers? I'm like, yeah. And then she said, but what do you actually do again? Which is the real question. So brand perception surveys, it's always very humbling to ask your parents or friends or family what this brand does and what they represent. So there's a few examples of questions that you may want to ask in your brand perception survey. In terms of creating an inclusive brand kind of strategy within this brand perception, you want to make sure that you create brand perception campaigns to improve your brand perception or to change your brand perception. So sometimes, and this may have happened to some of you before, businesses will undergo a kind of drastic rebrand in which they reposition themselves in the industry, which ultimately mean that they maybe want different types of clients, or they're figuring out their product line, or maybe they're changing the services that they offer. Because once you understand your brand perception, you can change it, but only if you want to. You don't have to. Brand repositioning is when a business alters their brand position within the market, but they keep their identity intact. So we're still not talking about completely, changing the brand for what it is, changing the whole team, changing everything. You're repositioning yourself in a market. So any changes to your brand perception will also mean any changes to your marketing strategy, because you may need to change the product, the price, the location, the promotion, because this is all part of the process when you are repositioning a brand. A really good example actually of a brand repositioning is Crocs. So I remember when I was younger, I always used to, my stepdad had Crocs, and I always used to think they are disgusting. Does anyone else feel like that? Crocs, vile, ugly, oh no, you'll never see me in them. Then, the other time I was going on holiday a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, really need a pair of Crocs. And they're like 40 quid in the airport. I was like, what? How did that even happen? I thought they were only about £10. So they went from ugly to iconic. They did this through a variety of things. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on talking about this Crocs repositioning, so I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to recommend that you go and check out Janle Bozak's MadFest talk. It was in 2022. Really, really interesting. It talks about how they went from that kind of ugly to iconic. They did it through a variety of like celebrity designer partnerships, social media, user-generated content, and now I feel like it's kind of uncool to not have Crocs. And I still don't own a pair because I'm refusing to pay £40 for them. That's all I'm saying. Another kind of brand that went through a repositioning was our brand, from kind of just general community to training provider. So Girls in Marketing now, it started in 2019. I started it when I was working full-time in SEO. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted a community of people, and I wanted to show how accessible marketing was as an industry. But as time's grown and time's changed, we've very much repositioned ourselves in the market, specifically last year. So we repositioned ourselves by changing our messaging across marketing channels and the website. We really wanted to position and solidify ourselves as a thought leader in the industry. So how did we actually do it? And as much as this, you may be able to see the colour change. Our logo with Girls in Marketing used to be very pink, and now it's a lot more navy, a lot more blues. We still have the kind of pink in there because we've got to go back to our roots sometimes. It's not always about that. We did a lot of other things as well. So we created a new mission statement. We transitioned our brand colours, which is probably the more of obvious things that we did. Then we created new brand guidelines for ourselves internally. We kind of shift our tone of voice, very much just thinking about who are we actually talking to and what are we actually trying to do. And then we also reviewed our content pillars on certain marketing channels. So when we originally started, when I started Girls in Marketing, we started it on Instagram, which is a crazy channel. I know I probably would not speak about the algorithm and Instagram and all of those different things today, but it's changed a lot in the last few years. When we started LinkedIn, the demand for this sort of community was so huge on LinkedIn that was a channel we kind of ran with. In 2022, we very much thought about, okay, how do we utilize both channels, but in different ways? Because not every channel is going to work in the same way for your brand. So this is a kind of obvious transitioning. So we've got end of 2021, start of 2022, middle of 2022, and now. So very much hats off to our social media manager, Kira, who is not here today. She's not died or anything. She's just going to see Harry Styles in Cardiff. But she has her and our head of marketing, Amy, who is actually here today upstairs, very much created the brands that we wanted to almost reposition ourselves and just solidify ourselves as brand and thought leaders in the industry. So you can really see through the change of colours, the kind of process that we've been through. But actually, there's a lot more beyond the kind of surface level stuff as well. In terms of improving brand perception, because at Girls in Marketing, we've definitely seen a massive improvement to how people described us, what people thought we were, how people understood the services and the products that we offer. Here are a few kind of tips. So in terms of developing and improving your brand perception, you obviously develop and maintain a positive connection to your customers, because you're not saying we're totally changing and we don't exist the way we used to. This is a new thing. You're saying, this is it, we've upgraded, we're better. Think about the Crocs example. We're not saying, okay, we're not talking about Crocs anymore, they're rubbish, we're now moving on to this new product. They actually realised our main staple product was doing the best, so let's focus on that. Let's focus on keeping these customers happy, having a positive impact on branding and brand experience and everything like that. Another thing is, in terms of improving your brand perception, you want to be open to feedback, because you can get quite defensive. I definitely do when it comes to my brand, because obviously I own the company. But sometimes when you work for a company, you get quite defensive over it. And when people say, oh yeah, well, I think this is what it is, you think, oh, well, it's not. I still do that about McDonald's now. So if anyone tries to come at me about McDonald's, I'll tell you, they are so clean and they are genuinely, people who are there, super lovely. The food is actually really good. Again, I'm not on commission for McDonald's, but I did work there, and my experience of it and my perception of it is great, but you have to be open to feedback. If someone said to me, actually I had this really bad experience at McDonald's, I'd say, oh God, that's awful, but I definitely recommend you do X, Y, Z. So it's always about being open to customer feedback, being open to what people think of your brand, and also kind of leveraging user-generated content. Massive buzzword. I know Ash talked about personal branding and being a buzzword. User-generated content is a huge buzzword at the moment. Leaning into that in regards to your brand perception is honestly, it's game-changing for your brand strategy. And then also, you can, I can't even read that, share customer testimonials, there you go. Great contact lenses. I need to go back to Specsavers. So share real customer testimonials as well. So I was honestly so happy to be here today. I hope that you all have an amazing day. There's some amazing speakers. Girls in Marketing, myself, Alicia and Amy from the team are actually upstairs in like the networking-y, lunchy area. We've got a really cool little plug. We've got a little Guess the Skittles challenge where you can win £50 Amazon voucher. So come and guess upstairs with us. And we've also got some LinkedIn reviews going on as well with myself and Amy, where we'll have a chat about, you know, your LinkedIn from a brand or a personal perspective as well. So definitely come and check us out. Thanks for having me. I hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you very much.